We're here at BAKKA Science Fiction Bookstore, where George Takei, famous for the legendary character Mr. Sulu on Star Trek, is here signing autographs of his new autobiography entitled To the Stars.
Oh, yes, right at City Hall here. I wrote about that in my column in Trans-Pacific. It was such a heady experience.
George took some valuable time out from meeting fans to share with us some of his thoughts on his life. George, what inspired you to write your autobiography at this point in your life?
About 2 years ago, two people that whose opinions I respect, the publisher of a magazine called Trans-Pacific, had lunch with me, and he suggested to me that Asian Americans would be interested in my trials and tribulations. And then 2 days after that, maybe it was 3 days after that, my theatrical agent said I should write an autobiography because Star Trek fans would be interested in my trials and tribulations with Star Trek. And when two people whose opinion I respect tell me the same thing within a period of 3 days, I knew that I couldn't keep demurring and saying I'm much too young to be writing my autobiography. My time had come, and so I sat down and started mapping out the life that I had lived.
How have you found the experience of being a writer?
I write regularly. I write a monthly column for Trans-Pacific magazine, so the writing part is something that's a regular part of my life. But when it comes to writing about your own life, it required a good deal of thought to winnow through all the memories that you have, and particularly because my boyhood was spent in two American internment camps, one in Arkansas and one in Northern California. And to put those memories, which are actually, in reality, my memories are, real memories are fond memories. I was much too young to really understand what that was all about. I remember the barbed wire fences, but they were just part of the landscape. But of course, that's not the whole picture. And the research, the interviews, the going through microfilms, reading the old newspapers was to me enlightening in one sense, wrenching in another, and putting it together and putting myself in the shoes of my parents and realizing that they were going through this at an age much younger than I am was a very painful and difficult process.
Would you say that your difficult early childhood experience shaped your character in later years?
I think so. Certainly my outlook on the importance of participating in our democratic system. We have a participatory democracy. The ideals of this system are wonderful, but it's totally dependent on people to make it work, and people are fallible. And the people failed during the Second World War when the American government couldn't draw that distinction between American citizens of Japanese ancestry and the Japanese with whom we were at war. We were at war with Germany and Italy also, but there's that visual difference with Japanese Americans, and suddenly our citizenship evaporated. All the rights, in fact human dignity, was gone. And indeed, we were seen as the enemy. They just swooped down and at gunpoint forcibly removed us from our homes. That must never happen. And unless the good people are in there in the process, then things like this can happen. So I'm very much an activist in the political process.
One of your first roles was doing voiceovers for a science fiction film about a flying monster called Rodan. Could you tell me a bit about that?
Well, that was my first paying gig. You know, I'd been acting for free in student productions, plays, skits, wherever I could perform. But when I began my college career as a student actor at UCLA, I landed this incredible acting opportunity, dubbing a Japanese science fiction movie about this monster, this prehistoric monster that comes to life, Rodan. We did, each actor, they had 4 actors, one old male voice, one young male voice, one middle-aged male voice, and one female voice. The female voice did all the old lady as well as the little baby girl. And I did all the young voices, played everything from the scientist to the honeymooner to the panic hordes of Tokyo, you know. It was, my voice was completely shot at the end of the day, you know. Ah! Ooh! The vocal cords were just shredded apart, but it was great fun.
And after an exhilarating experience like Rodan, you get a call to meet with Gene Roddenberry to discuss another science fiction show called Star Trek. How did you feel about that?
First and immediate and most important thing was, if I got that role, it was a regular role in a regular television series. What it meant was steady employment. That was the thing that was most attractive about that. Science fiction, fine. You know, flying around the galaxies, fine. But the most important thing was steady employment. And then I met Gene Roddenberry, and he sketched out the kind of character I was being interviewed for. And that blew me away, because it was really a breakthrough role for an Asian American. Up until then, all Asian roles, I think I'm safe in saying, that appeared regularly on a weekly series television were stereotypes and not very attractive ones at that. Either the comic buffoon or the quiet menial or the villain. And here was a character that was a classic hero, together with all of the others on the leadership team on the bridge there. And no accents, a full professional. It was absolutely dizzying to hear Gene describing this. And then he went on to describe what kind of vision he had for the series, that positive, optimistic, affirmative vision of the human future, working as a team, this pluralistic view of society, and in concert, tapping the best of everybody with good leadership, facing that common challenge and boldly going where we hadn't been before. I mean, it was an exciting, heady feeling, and I walked out of there just hoping and praying that I'd get cast, and it happened.
Briefly, George, could you tell me some of your most fondest memories during the course of the 3-year run of the Star Trek series?
I guess it's working with the people that I work with. They're wonderful people, exciting people, different people. They're all rugged individualists and very talented people, and many of my colleagues are good personal friends as well.
That concludes our discussion for this month with George Takei. Tune in to 10 Forward next month when we present part 2 of our interview.